sit up straight, stop slouching, so that my belly doesn't stick out everywhere and cause everyone grief, including me. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Car Cranks. I'm Jay, and...
I'm Bruce, Dodgee Bruce.
He's got his own YouTube channel, which we'll post a link down below.
Go say subscribe, because I don't do anything for 6 months, but still there's stuff there that you should see. And I've got a lot of cars and I make a lot of stuff and it looks funny, so okay, do it.
Dodgee's Garage?
Yeah.
Yep. With 2 E's?
2 E's.
There you are.
Never ask why.
No.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, cheers. It's water, not vodka, by the way.
I know. I should have BYO'd, but...
No. It's about not quite that sort of time. So anyway, yes. Welcome everyone to another episode of Car Cranks.
Yes.
And I think we've already covered that, haven't we? Did we say that already? I think we already said that. Never mind.
Anyway.
So we're going to talk about...
car stuff.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about car stuff, but more specifically, I think, we're going to talk about what do you look for when you buy a car?
Oh, okay. Yes. I don't look when I'm buying a car. It's usually whatever it comes my way, I go, I can afford that, that's fine. I don't go looking for stuff.
No?
No.
So
it's just whatever comes my way. I mean, I've got an idea of what I'd like to have, but half the cars I've got in my collection are kind of, I like that. I mean, can I afford it? Yeah, I buy it.
Yeah.
And I've got an eclectic collection of my cars. I mean...
How many cars? Is it a dozen or something?
At the moment, I think I'm a dozen, maybe 15.
15.
I mean, there's 25 cars at my house, so but not all of them are mine. So I'm...
What, people have left them for you to look after?
Yeah, storage.
Oh.
Kind of. Sean, come and get them, will you? Yeah, I've just got, there's at least 6, 7 of theirs. 5 or 6. And then there's a weld body, and then there's a chassis, and then there's bloody a FE cab, and it's just stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the problem when you get 5 acres. People go, can I put my stuff there? I'll come back to it in a couple of months. 2 years later, it's still there.
So it's not Dodgee's Garage so much as it's Dodge's junkyard?
Rust Estate.
Rust in peace.
Rust Estate. What was that old shoot 'em up thing in the 50s? What was it called?
Shoot 'em up, as in a movie.
Yeah, the Western series in the 50s.
Bonanza?
Yes. What was the name of the Ponderosa? Dodge's Ponderosa. Automotive Ponderosa. Crap everywhere.
Oh God.
Ponderosa.
Okay.
Oh, mine goes back that far.
We might even get Dodgee to take some photos and send them to me so I can insert them here. Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Do that.
Yeah. All right. Just so you got an idea of what exactly he's talking about, because I'm not even sure myself. I've seen in the videos, like as you sort of pan around with the camera and stuff like that.
Continuously scroll across all the photos I'm putting in right now.
Yeah.
And that one. And that one.
Oh dear. No, I have seen in your videos the mass of stuff.
Mass hysteria. Yeah.
And as you walk between cars talking about what it is about this car that you're going to do or what needs fixing or whatever, and it's a sheer mind-boggling array of different things. And
that's what I'm saying. My collection is eclectic. I don't
You
have
like that
just
word,
Ford, just Holden, or just Datsuns. No, I'd love to. I've got no Datsuns, but I had a Holden. It's gone now. But it's whatever I can afford that just comes across my path. I mean, some stuff, I wouldn't go out looking for a Reliant kitten. But I have one.
There it is.
You know?
Reliant, I don't even know what a Reliant kitten looks like, but you'll send me a photo.
I'll send you a photo, and people can Google it, Reliant kitten. It's like the 3-wheeled Robin, but it's got 4 wheels. So the front's shorter. Beautiful. Well,
Beautiful.
it's interesting car.
There you go.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. And the V-Dub hot rod, dub rod.
Oh yeah.
I didn't plan on going to buy that. I was actually went to this guy's house to buy some spare parts for an old R30 Skyline. He just had it sitting in his shed. And he didn't know what he was going to do with it.
It wasn't complete, was it?
Kind of complete.
You did a lot of stuff on that,
the body
didn't you?
was like all there. But the engine didn't run. The wiring was shot. It was painted Rappercan black. The wheels were crap.
Okay.
And it had no windscreen, flat, which is now Perspex anyway.
It's obviously not made for the road then.
No, I think it was going to be, but it's never been actually registered.
Wow,
so it needs a bit of work to make it road legal, which I've done half. I think it's got a whole new wiring harness and everything works. It's got headlights, tail lights, indicators, LED, all that stuff's worked. I've got a rear view mirror now. I've got a perspex window. We'll see if that passes because they got to do the old, is it a windscreen or a wind deflector?
Right.
As to whether I can leave it as
There's a
perspex.
height or something requirement and a position requirement or something, I think, from memory.
It could be, but because it's a, I mean, it could be registered as a buggy as well, which means whatever. So
Yeah, right.
But it's a flat glass front window, so I could make it out of glass if I need to. But at the moment, it's just perspex for the car show thing. And there's really nothing much else on it that I really need to get up and go because it's stock. Mechanically, it's a stock 1200 or 1100.
1200, is it? Okay.
Yeah, well, it was. CC engine, so it's like 58 model. I doubt it was an oval window, but it was a 58, so someone's gone and cut the roof off and the guards off and everything.
Is it an old project then, do you think? Like, it's been around for a long time?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I've had it for, 7 years?
Right.
At
'Cause I mean,
least.
the thought of chopping up a perfectly good or even a capably restored, a Beetle that's capable of being restored, the thought of cutting one of those up probably,
A
sends
Volks
a lot
ride
of
back in
people-
those days was, no one had, I've never seen one or heard one.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you look at the same side of the car and go, oh, you pulled it apart. No, that's it. It's complete, ready. What? No guards, no bumpers, no door handles, no chrome, no roof.
Yep.
That's a wreck. No, that's a Volkswagen.
Yeah, exactly right.
Does it run? Does now.
Well, and that's the thing as well, I suppose, because those cars became so many different things because they're body on frame.
Oh, you can do
just,
whatever.
You leave the frame there, you unbolt the body and all the ancillaries and stuff like that, and you put. I mean, that was what the Purvis Eureka was based on, the Volkswagen.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of kit cars. I mean,
Your Mannix buggies and all those buggies,
oh,
sand
yeah, the
rails.
Myers Manx and stuff. That's right.
Manx,
Yeah,
they're
there you
all
go.
based
Yeah.
off the floor pan of the VW.
Of course, yeah, exactly right.
So you could.
There's
There's
loads of
heaps
kit cars. Yeah,
exactly.
loads of them. I mean, I think there was quite a few that end up saw. Actually, I think what was it? The old TV show Knight Rider.
Yeah.
With Kit, the Trans Am or whatever.
Yeah.
I know for a fact they mocked up several of those Trans Am as like the jump cars, and they were like Volkswagens with a Trans Am shell on them.
Oh, okay.
And
Because
if you have
Back
a
to
look
the
at them,
Future, DeLorean did one.
yeah, exactly.
One
yeah.
was on a V-dub because it was when they went back to what was it, the 1800s,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it was going across the sand.
Yeah, yeah.
V-dub.
Okay.
This is the only way they could get the lift. That was a V-dub.
Yeah, right.
And it went,
Probably more reliable than the DeLorean.
yeah.
I love
And
DeLoreans.
well,
though.
I love DeLoreans except for the mechanical patches. Who puts a Renault and think that's a good engine?
Well, John said DeLorean. He was. I mean, it's an interesting story, and if you do want the mind, the wormhole of interesting automotive possibilities, all you've got to do is just look up DMC Motor Company or DeLorean Motor Company and look at some of the stuff that was going on back then, and also what he had to do to get that car running and out and delivered, and all of the problems he had and all that sort of stuff. Anyway. So, what you look for in a car then, essentially, and that's any car, is
Any car.
affordability.
Affordability for me to buy because I'm broke all the time because I keep buying buckets of crap. So, kind of, it's a catch-22. I want to buy a car, I buy the crap cars. I can't afford to buy a good car because I just bought all these crap cars. So I'll just go buy more crap cars. Yeah, that's fine. The only thing I didn't buy that was crap was my old Skyline R31 GS Coupe,
That was
HR31,
nice. That was
and
nice.
my Dodge
The Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't look that good now. But they're the only two I actually had to get a bank loan to buy.
Yeah.
And they were good cars until I kind of run them into the ground.
Well, the Skyline, I always liked that car, and the thing is, I was a bit of an '80s tragic for a while.
Yes,
and
I love the 80s.
Those cars always tickled me
Wedgie
when I saw them on them.
shaped.
Yeah, exactly.
Love
That,
the wedgie
I think
ones.
my favourite Skyline though would have to be I think it's the R30 RS Turbo. So the two-door with the 2.4
Oh, the
litre.
S12,
The Skyline.
oh, Skyline.
Yeah.
Oh, R30?
So we're like.
Oh, the
we're
DR30.
Yeah, we're
I
talking-
mean,
yeah, we're
the
talking mid-80s.
iron mask front.
No. It's
the
got
iron
the
mask front.
grill front. Iron mask fronts, yeah, they're good.
Tekken something.
Maybe I'll have to. Can't remember. All I remember is I had a remote control car of it, and it was fantastic. I loved it. Bought it in Singapore Airport when I was a kid.
I do like the R30 iron mask coupes, but
Yeah.
there was enough for sale. I just happened to be doing my deliveries, and there was a car yard in Wangara, and he had he had a couple of Skyline R31 coupes, and I went, oh, I can finance that.
How long ago was that you bought that?
10 years ago,
Yeah, right.
at least. Yeah.
And that was back when there hadn't been that big resurgence.
No.
And all
Everyone
the
wanted
extra...
32s and 33s because that was the thing at the time. 33s were going through the roof, but 31s not so much. But because the imports were easy on the 31s, people were importing it and they were selling like hotcakes. I mean, the Skyline Passage, the 4-door.
That's right, yeah.
With the...
Pillarless doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were going great. You know, people love those because they were just an interesting thing. You know, and they had like really nice interiors on the Passage, like a TI interior.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And people love those. So I got the 31. I thought, great, because I wanted to get into motorsport because, you know, as you know, my background is in photography, so I was covering the events, and I thought, bugger covering it, I want to be in it.
Yeah, drive around,
Actually have some fun, you know, fang it, because at that time I think I was Datsuns or something, I don't know, maybe Falcons, and it was like, I can't do these. So I got the Skyline, it was brilliant.
That brings me back actually to the previous episode, kids, where if you want to make a track car, start with something that's relatively performance-based in the first place. Don't try and make something...
You're chasing your tail then trying to upgrade everything to get it going, whereas if you get something that's already half going, you just upgrade what's there and you're done.
Well, that actually brings me to an interesting point.
I'm good at diverting into these little points.
Yeah. That's why you're here. That and also you're spectacularly good looking, of course. It's the beard, must be the beard.
Beard.
Anyway.
And the hat. Ruin love it.
Okay, so you've got 50 grand.
Ooh.
Up to 50 grand, but you have to spend on a car. One car.
Ooh.
Now, it can be anything up to 50 grand, but it needs to be brand new, and it can't be more.
Brand new.
And sporty. So, like, you want a sporty car. What do you buy?
Up to 50 grand, and the only thing that's even new that's sporty that I would even look at would be a Yaris. Is that 50?
The GR Yaris?
Yeah.
54 or something. Okay, I'll give you 5 grand leeway then. So one of those?
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that.
I mean, they're a bit small for me, but there's nothing else out there in the market unless you go for an old Clio.
No, it has to be new. New.
Oh, yeah, okay. Look, there's nothing.
Okay. Interesting.
Not that I can think of.
You came to exactly the same conclusion as Blair, who was my guest in the first and second episode.
Okay.
He said exactly the same thing, GR Yaris.
Yeah.
And
I can't think of anything else. Nothing comes into mind that's new. That is sporty. Nothing's sporty new.
I would look
under
seriously at that.
55 or under.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go for a new Porsche if I could, because wouldn't you?
Not in this country.
Yeah, well,
Not for a new one.
yeah, well,
No.
okay, not
Nope.
new. No.
Not a chance. We're in the wrong country for that.
Yeah, nothing.
Okay. So, I mean, I would consider a GR Yaris also, because I like the look of them. They're, you know, that small hot hatch, funky looking thing. Do you know the Yaris is actually a Mazda 2?
Which era Mazda 2?
2015 onwards.
Oh.
Yaris is made by Mazda. You didn't know that, did you?
No.
Now you know. So if, when you're looking for a Mazda 2 to buy, and you're looking at something that's relatively new, 2015 and onwards, you can look at a Yaris as well, because they're basically the same car, save for a bit of cosmetic trim. There you go.
What about the engine? Is that specifically Yaris?
Nope.
So you can literally get a new Mazda 2 on the cheap and then buy all the performance parts and play the game with the Yaris.
Yeah.
Because it's
Except
the same performance.
the GR Yaris is specifically a Toyota product. There's no equivalent Mazda to it. Because it is a Yaris in shell only. The drivetrain is all different and stuff like that. Because it's 3-cylinder, because it's turbo, because it's all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Because all the Mazda 2s and Yaris typically are 4-cylinder.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, there's variations, obviously, but the GR Yaris is the only one that's like that.
Yeah, but if you did like the Honda Type R when it came out, you couldn't get a hold of one. Whereas you could buy, if you couldn't get a hold of a Yaris, like if they're all sold out, I'll just go get a Mazda, throw some turbo and intercooler on it, whoop, whoop, whoop,
Maybe.
and still have some fun at this almost the same level
Okay.
as
Almost.
Yeah.
So
a bit and then,
I would be torn, I think, but I would have to say if it were me and 50 grand or up to 50 grand, it'd probably be a GT86. Toyota or BRZ such thing.
Well, yeah. Would you want the flat 4? Or you want the Toyota motor?
Well, I would, but the new ones are out soon, and that's bigger engines, 2.4 litre versus 2 litre. and they've addressed a lot of the issues with the 2 litre where there's a core. Have you ever driven one? GT86? No? Okay. And motoring journalists
I don't know anyone who's actually bought one.
Do you? I know a few people.
Oh.
Anyway, if you want some seat time in one, I might be able to get you some seat time in one. But
Yeah.
they're a good car to drive. They're a very good car to drive. They are very much a 90s coupe in the way they drive, like a 90s Japanese coupe. They're naturally aspirated, obviously not turbo. They're not super fast, but one thing that all of those cars had was there's this torque dip at about sort of 4.5, 5,000 RPM, where the torque literally drops off and then comes back again. And it's very, very strange.
Yeah.
It's a boxer thing. I don't understand. It's a naturally aspirated boxer engine thing. I don't know why. But the 2.4 litre, the new one, has addressed all of that.
Okay.
So more torque, more power, better drivability.
Are they
and I'd go
doing
one
a
of those.
turbo or not?
No, they were going to, and no, they're not going to now.
So they'll just leave it to the aftermarket to do. Yeah, okay.
The thing is, I think, and this is
Because they will cover that.
well, oh yeah, of course. Well, as soon as there was a GT86, there were turbo and supercharger kits for them. There were coilover kits, there were wheels, there were brakes, and all that sort of stuff. It all existed. People were already doing engine swaps, like LS swaps into GT86s, 2JZ swaps into GT86s. There was a Ferrari powered 458.
Oh,
So the
yeah, I've
V8.
seen a few
Front engined GT86 with a
Ferraris or anything else. What do you call it?
Anyway,
Mustangs with it.
4586, I think, because we talked about that in the first episode as well. But yeah, there was a Ferrari engine swap GT86, and it's to quote Jeremy Clarkson, an handful. Very sideways.
Oh, yeah. And it wouldn't be light either. I mean, you
Well,
I mean,
engines aren't
well, it
that
depends.
heavy.
LS2, which alloy.
Well, the one's alloy as well.
No, cast iron. Cast iron bottom.
Is it? I
A
thought they were alloy.
LS1's a truck motor, so it's a cast iron bottom end. Even though we have them in Commodores, cast iron bottom end
Sure,
alloy
you're talking about
heads.
the LT one?
No,
Okay.
because we don't even have the LT here. It's always
No, I know. LT one came out of Corvettes and stuff, so yeah.
the cast iron is the. That's why the burnout guys can kill the set of tyres with it, because the block can handle it.
Right.
I mean, obviously they can do the LS2s and LS3s now, but they're an all alloy block, whereas LS1s are a cast iron block.
Okay. I thought the LS was all alloy, but right.
Not the ones.
Okay. Well,
So
I might fact check though. Anyway,
fact check that. I'm pretty sure.
just in case. Otherwise, leave us a comment and tell us we're wrong. Whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't
No,
matter.
I don't know what I'm doing because I'm just a guy wearing a hat. That's all.
We don't know
But
anything.
that's all I know because yeah.
So, okay.
All right. So
suppose
GT, that's as far as you can get for 30 grand.
GT86, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's GT.
MX8, MX5?
What, older models?
No, new. We're still talking about new.
Oh, new.
Yeah.
They're still making.
Yeah, absolutely. ND. And there's a Fiat clone called the Fiat 124 Spider. Oh,
Now I have seen those Fiats, and I do like the look of them.
they do look good, definitely.
They've definitely got the old look to them because on the body of those it's like a pancake.
Yes.
Because the old 124s had a pancake where the top of it was just a flat surface, and then you had your roof and everything else. The new ones almost copy that, so it looks like a 124, although obviously not old. But I do like the look of the 124s.
There you go.
But I bet you they're just as reliable as the originals.
Well, it's still made by Mazda though.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Ah,
It's actually a clone car. So Mazda made them, and Fiat did like styling. They did like a deal, basically.
oh.
Yep. So it's a
So if I
it's a
find
Mazda
one
MX-5.
come up cheap somewhere,
Good
I
luck.
do. Mate,
Maybe in 15 years.
have you seen my Beamer? Check out my YouTube channel on the Beamer. It's the cheapest Z3 in Australia. And you'll see what I mean by
Not according to your insurance policy. It's not.
not anymore. It's worth $1 million. But I bought it for bugger all, and you'll see it on my YouTube channel. But yeah, they just come up. So I'm thinking, yeah, give us a couple of years, Fiat. But it's a Mazda body, eh? Mazda
It's an
mechanical.
MX-5. It's an MX-5. There's so much of that platform sharing now going on
Wow, that's
that
just
you
only
don't even realise.
4 people own everything.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, those Lamborghini Uruses and stuff, those big, ugly Ford... Sorry. My opinion, don't flame me, or if you do, you
Put
can
it in the
address
comments
to me.
below.
Exactly right.
Click like and subscribe.
I think the US is ugly. I think they're a horrific piece of engineering.
Yes.
Anyway,
Your
but
ass. That's what they are.
it's an Audi Q7.
Right. Okay.
So this platform sharing thing
Yeah.
is very, very common again amongst a lot of car manufacturers.
Yeah, especially nowadays. Yeah. But that's okay. Well, that's interesting. So.
So like the BRZ, the GT86, and in the US the now defunct, I believe, Scion FRS. All the same car, different cosmetic bits. I mean, you can tell they're the same car though. Whereas the MX-5, the ND MX-5 looks very different to the Fiat 124 Spider.
Yes.
Very different.
Yes.
Very, very. I would argue the Fiat is the better looking car.
Yeah.
But
the new MX-5s. I've seen a couple of the newer ones. I didn't think they were new. They might have been like first of the new ones. It's looked like someone left out some pre-workout formula somewhere, and then it came along, sniffed up, went, oh, look at me, and it's still only this big. It's fucking what? With big regards on it. It's like your wheels are 14, dude, or 15s. They do not require a 20-inch bloody wheel tub.
But having said that, the car manufacturers now are getting very wise to people buying these things and putting bigger wheels and stuff like that. Like, for example, GT86, right?
Oh,
Now, we're going to go back to this continually because I believe it's possibly one of the best cars that's new, that's performance oriented, for a bit of fun, that doesn't cost the earth and isn't like loaded down with 500 horsepower to make it really, really difficult to drive or uneconomical to fix and maintain stuff. So little things like that where they actually literally roll the inside. Oh, here we go. He's taking a hit just in case. Good God. I got a smoke machine over there. You want to stick your mouth on that?
that's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. Anyway, GT86, they rolled the inside of all the guards.
What, from factory?
Yep.
Oh,
So they've lipped all of the guards.
because I knew as soon as they hit the the performance guys are going to go 20s.
I know someone who took delivery of the first GT86 in Western Australia, and he had coilovers, wheels and tyres, and a bigger brake kit sitting in his house before he even took delivery of the car.
Oh, okay.
So when I saw the car, it was the very first day that he got it, and he had already changed the wheels.
Right, okay.
So he took it home. He drove it. I think it was like not even a kilometre on the original wheels and tyres. I'd commented his ownership because sometimes these cars get driven a couple of k's on and off boats and stuff and trucks and whatever. He drove it. He bought the GT, not the GTS. He didn't buy the top spec model.
Oh, okay.
But he was lucky to get it because there was like such a horrific wait period for these cars back then, and it was because the demand was far outstripping supply. They couldn't make them quick enough.
Yeah.
Because people had died.
There was nothing up until then.
Yeah.
There was nothing. There was like the first MX-5s, Zs and other stuff, and it was like, okay, now what?
But that was the 90s.
Yeah.
And as soon as the 90s were over, all of the car manufacturers went, okay, it's time to not make such expensive to produce and not selling the cars that don't sell so well. So Toyota gave up, Mazda gave up. I mean, actually, well, Mazda didn't really give up. They still produced the MX-5. But the MX-5 was never an expensive car in the first place, even new. Whereas things like your Supras, your Skylines, all of those were expensive cars to produce. I'm sorry, we're keeping you up.
Oh, look, I've worked a long day and I just do this normally. Stops my mouth from locking up.
Okay. But yeah, so that was the thing when the GT86 came along. It was a collaboration with Subaru.
Yeah.
And Toyota would never, I think, in the climate even 10 years ago. Well, I don't think they would ever have produced another sports car by themselves.
Yeah.
Which is why the new Supra is Bmw Z4.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally, I mean, okay, so this is a point that is very much a bone of contention for a lot of people, especially when you start talking about the new Supra and stuff like that. Oh, it's not fit to wear the Supra badge and everything like that. Oh, it's just a BMW Z4 in drag. Well, yes, but it is better than a Z4.
Yeah.
basically.
Well, the Z4s, they don't make them, do they?
Yep.
They still make a Z4?
They still make a Z4, and the reason they still make a Z4 because they looked at discontinuing it was because Toyota said, hey, we want a sports car. And back in the early 2010s, I think it was, there was a concept called the FT1, which was to be the new Supra. And the FT1 and the new Supra vary quite a bit because there was, they had to base the new body on the Z4 chassis. So there were things they couldn't change, like where the suspension mounts and the roof line and where the wheels go and all that sort of stuff. So you can't change those. I think what's the industry term for them? They call them automotive hard points.
Oh, okay.
So they are points of non-negotiable location that you have to base your car around, and that's the Z4.
Yeah.
And Toyota went, okay, we'll have that, and they developed the Z4, or BMW developed the Supra for Toyota, and then slapped some Toyota badges on it. But there's that contra deal because BMW will be using. Have you heard of the Mirai? It's a hydrogen fuel cell car.
Yes.
Okay. BMW will be using Toyota's technology in their X5.
Brian has bought one.
Brian?
Brian, not Brian.
James May.
Yes. Sorry.
How did I get James May from Brian?
What's the guitarist out of the Queen?
Brian May.
Brian May. Because he reminds me of James.
Because the surname's the same?
I always got them mixed up because they're both white-haired pommy guys. James May has it, and he put out on his channel about getting the Mirai, and I went, oh, that's an interesting looking vehicle, lots of trinkets and stuff.
That's his second one.
Yeah.
So you've got to say,
Didn't even know there were one, and he's on his second already. It's like, okay.
well, there's a couple in WA actually of the new ones.
Mirai. Ooh.
But, I mean, they're a little bit derided because people say, oh, it just looks like a fancy Camry. And yes, it does. But the whole point of it is that Toyota's trying to mass produce this because, I mean, I don't know about you, I don't believe a fully electric vehicle is the answer. Not unless it's covered in solar panels and it will charge itself if you park it outside.
Not in Australia, because apart from going 25 k's to work and back, or 50 k's to visit your sister, everywhere else is a couple of 100 k's away. Oh, where you go? Like me, if I wanted to go to Lancelin, it's 150 k's away.
Well, you can get that range,
but if someone want to go down to down south, Margaret River or something like that, 200 plus k's.
Yeah, it would be difficult to do an electric car.
In heavy traffic, it's like, So, and then, it's just, you need a hybrid. You couldn't do just one.
And that's why Toyota have done, I mean, they've had the hydrogen fuel cell cars since the mid-2000s, as has Honda. And Honda produced a few of them and stuff like that. I mean, we had hydrogen fuel cell buses here as public transport for a while.
Until they blew up.
Well, that I think was partly because it wasn't understood what was necessary to maintain them. And they're not regular buses, they're something else. So, yeah, I think inexperience dictated a lot of the unreliability with those. And it's much the same with the new stuff, but the hydrogen fuel cell stuff, yes, the Mirai, and that was getting back to that deal where BMW and Toyota went, okay, we'll exchange things. So in the new, I think it's a new X5, there's a new X5 hydrogen fuel cell that's due out end of next year from memory. And BMW are going to be bringing like a version of the X5 that is a hydrogen fuel cell car.
Okay.
So not that's particularly of interest to you or I, because we don't buy new cars, but it is interesting to see where the technology goes because, again, electric only? I don't know. Look, the idea appeals to me because my short distance driving is, I mean, I looked something depressing, and I did cover this during the last show actually, is that the distance, or the average speed that I have for my weekly driving is like 36 k's an hour. It's pretty depressing. And the fuel economy is not great either from all of the cars because it stops start, short bursts, that sort of stuff. There's not much freeway or highway driving. And the other thing, of course, as well, is that there are new petrol stations being built.
Oh, everywhere.
There's two just around here.
Freaking, in Rockingham, Thomas Road, there's like 7 petrol stations. 2 7-Elevens, and it's like we've got enough. They're within 500 metres of each other. It's like, fuck off.
Well, it's like, within the last 18 months,
already.
within a block, there have been 2 petrol stations here built.
Yeah.
Within 18 months.
Yeah. And as you said, what are we going to do with the real estate then once we put that? Are they going to be EV charging points? Can't do that to everyone. And it's like, well, unless you get superconductors, superchargers
Oh, yep.
for Teslas, you're going to be there a while. So, yeah. And just all that sort of stuff. It's like, well, yeah, what's the point? Obviously, petrol stations view Australia as the last backwater. Because our government is the last backwater. Because they just follow whoever has the biggest checkbook.
Yep.
Apparently. So we're going to be stuck gasoline for a long time. Hence, all these things are being made available. Or the councils and the state governments that regulate this are saying, gas station, yeah, sure, here, have 100. And only Mark McGowan has made the thing of saying, oh, we've got EVs. Oh, here's 1 or 2 or 3 charging stations for your EV. Or makes a note of it, like Esperance has now a charging station or something like that.
Okay. You can't get there.
You're flat before you get up there. It's like, yeah, good on you, mate. So that's the sort of thing. We're going to be a long way behind anyone else because of just the government's lack of initiative and.
Well, that's typical Australia, though, isn't it? We always adopt everything late. I mean, even our internet is a bit of a. But anyway, we're not. I mean, we are car cranks, and the name of the show is Car Cranks because it's double entendre. We're car cranks because cars have cranks, and also we're cranky. But
I am definitely.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have to complain for an entire hour about the government, though. I mean, we can, but we probably shouldn't.
Go over to my channel and I'll do it. But yeah.
But yeah, no, look, I understand.
But just that thing that Freiberg was saying with EV, everyone's pushing to get it. There's a lot of negatives as well, especially consider just the batteries, the lithium batteries. Like we're building a new lithium station here. Well, the mine's down south, but it's going to be at. I'm putting over here like it's at my place. Kwinana Beach, they're going to build a factory there to make lithium into the battery packs.
Right.
And that just takes so much energy to make those batteries. I mean, they're literally, I have them on hand, 18650 lithium ion rechargeable batteries that you have in all this stuff. That's what
18650 is milliamp hours, is it?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, yep.
And then you got the 2600s as well, I think they are.
Oh, they go in things like the rechargeable torches and stuff.
Everything.
As well, don't they?
Everything. Anything that recharges, you have a look at it, it'll be these encased in a plastic case. You might not see these, but your beard chargers and trimmers and everything else that's electric, it'll be these 18650s inside a little container, so you can't pull them apart.
A different shape, like because it goes in a laptop.
No, it'll be this.
Like that.
It'll be this, but shaped in a container to fit in.
Right, fair enough.
It's only that's all they make. If you look at some YouTube channels like Rich Rebuilds and whatever, when they're looking at a pack, 10,000 of these little suckers.
Okay.
That's what they are, and they individually connected to every single one. 18650s.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go. You might have learned something, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. The idea of an electric car, it does appeal.
It does. I think last night or yesterday I was looking at on one of the socials, Jeremy Clarkson. It was an old one, of course. Jeremy Clarkson got in I think it was not a Model S. What's the SUV ones?
Model X.
Model X, yeah. And
the gold wing doors on the back.
Yes.
Model X, I think it is.
I've obviously seen it years ago when it first came out, but I watched it again and he likes it. He said,
ticks a lot of boxes.
Ticks a lot of boxes for a guy like Clarkson to say, yeah.
Well, I know one person.
Then James May bought a Mirai, so it's like
I think
they're
that's the
diverse, whereas I probably wouldn't.
I think that's the answer. I think hydrogen fuel cell. Hydrogen is the most abundant gas in the world.
It's cheap.
In space, in the universe.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
Hydrogen. That's
the only thing.
You just got to work out how to store it and that's
storing
the capacity. I remember when it first came out, they said, hydrogen, this is really good. We can use our LPG tanks and everything else. They take 4 times the amount of space for hydrogen as LPG would. That's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Unless you're on demand, in which case you only need something like your water container and actually make it on demand to be used.
It becomes the extraction station built into something,
rather than having an LPG bottle containing your hydrogen. Well, you can only get a quarter of the amount in that you normally would. So. Storage is the problem. So unless they on demand, I don't know how you'd run it.
No. But, I mean...
Unless it's a half-half, like you get a small tank to run the car while it's building, and as that gas is being produced, it's pushed into the tank, so the tank's always topped up.
Yeah.
So it's topping up, but you've already got a full tank to keep you running around. It just tops up, and while the car's sitting there, it's still topping up.
Like a surge tank.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Interesting.
would work. I just thought of that. Oh, I'm a mechanical genius. I don't know if that's true, though. Some scientists are probably sitting there going, "You what? You idiot."
If any scientists watch this show, please feel free to get in touch. Honestly.
Yeah, tell me if I'm a genius or not. Put it in the comments below.
I would be very interested to
them.
know, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they. I mean, I only know one person with a Tesla, one person with an electric car, and I get obviously the inevitable questions from
I know
my parents.
Neil, he's got the new Mercedes-Benz SUV
Oh yeah,
electric. Yeah, many, but he's a doctor, so you can afford brain surgeon. Hey Neil. Yeah, so he's got the electric. I mean, I've seen the ads for those electric SUV Mercedes-Benz, and it's like, ooh, nice. Well, you expect a Mercedes-Benz, over $100,000. They'd have to be nice, or more, 150 grand or something like that.
Yeah, they're
very nice, but yeah, it's electric.
Okay.
He's got one,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's like,
Well, I think what was it?
I'd still like a V8 of what 6.3 litre with bi-turbos. Anyone got one that wants me to have a test drive?
The AMG 63 or something like that, I think.
Yes.
The
S63.
S63, yeah. There's also the
The
C63 as well,
Yes.
and yeah, or 65, and yeah, nice.
I'd do that. That'd do me.
One of my mum's friends had
Even
one
an
of
old
those.
E55 AMG wagon with the supercharger on.
Oh yeah.
Change the pulley, you got 500-600 horsepower right there. It's
You
like,
like Mercs, do you?
yeah, I don't mind Mercs. I mean, I've looked at a lot of cars. Like I own a Beamer, but I hate Beamers because they're crap. But I've owned a Merc, and it was an old '88 W124 E300.
Oh, they never break down. They go forever.
Never, just
They go forever.
As long as people would just look after the leather interiors, if you got it, condition your damn leather. It just went on and on. You know, something happened. Oh, it doesn't. Something's tripped. Oh, look at your OVT. Change that. Oh, pop, pop. There, done.
Job done. Yeah, exactly.
Fuse. It's a fuse. You just replace the fuse. Car's fine.
Well, in Europe,
Everything works.
but this is the really strange thing: is that okay, in Australia, Mercedes-Benz has this air of quality and prestige and stuff like that. But in Europe, they're just
Taxi.
cars.
It's a taxi.
They're taxis. They're fleet cars.
They're a Commodore.
Yeah, it's just basically a car.
Man, it's a Commodore. It's
I mean, obviously, with car manufacturers and Mercedes and BMW that are no exception, there are premium models in the range, but you can buy basic ones, and they're just cars.
Yeah.
They're just a fleet car, a taxi, all the.
But here they're classified as a luxury vehicle, so they have this luxury vehicle tax, which is funny because we don't make any cars anymore,
No.
and yet we still have this luxury vehicle tax. What's the go, government? We're paying a tax on cars that we don't make anymore.
Here come the government conspiracy.
Everything's coming in.
Yeah.
We don't make it. Why are we still paying tax?
Yeah.
Anyway.
They make too much money off us, that's why.
Oh yeah.
But anyway. So yeah, Mercs.
I do like Mercs though. I mean, they are just, like I said, the early V8 engines, except for one particular model in the early 2000s when the head studs would shit themselves, but that was a recall. So if you haven't had them changed, get them changed. But that was it. The head studs were dished in, so your Allen key, your big 20mm Allen key would fit in it.
Yeah.
Whereas before and after, since it's a socket. Because actually it's a protruding bolt now.
Yep.
The thing was,
As it
because
should
they
be.
had a socket, it lessened the amount of metal, so they actually popped and pulled the head bolt out, like the head would actually pop off. Whereas now, because it's an actual bolt to put your socket on, it's got a lot more foundation to actually pull down the head, especially with the AMG stuff,
Yep.
the superchargers and these bi-turbos in there. So they changed that, so that was a recall. But the engines just last. All aluminium, 5.5 litre, 6.3 litre aluminium V8 engines pushing 500 horsepower with superchargers from the factory. It's like, why aren't the performance blokes getting out there and finding these things?
I think a lot of it is that
Just-
the engines might be alright, but previous guest, 2 episodes actually, first and second episode, Blair, he had an E500. it was a 2003 model,
Okay.
and the list of things that were starting to go wrong with it made it egregiously expensive to try and keep it and maintain it.
Right.
And the other thing, of course, is that Mercedes, they made biodegradable wiring loom.
Just
insulation.
after mine, the 201, I think it was, the W201,
I
maybe
don't know. but
212?
Sort of like after 98, I think it was, after 1998.
No, 93.
Oh, there you go.
93,
There you go.
mid-90s it was, and it just, biodegradable. It's like, why?
Yeah, because
Oh, no,
the
actually, it could
expectation
be,
was to
98.
be-
I think it was late 90s, and it was like,
I think their expectation was this lasts 5 years and then it gets junked or something like that.
Yeah.
Not in this country.
no.
Not in this
When
country.
car's 50 years old, still going.
Yeah.
The prices, and it's just, the dealerships just got jammed with it because of our heat and everything that it fell apart quicker.
Yep. Went more brittle, turned to powder, and then all of a sudden,
And all these cars kept stopping on the road,
all
and
these warning lights come up on the dash, and things stop working.
the service departments and the dealerships just went, what?
Can you imagine having to replace the wiring loom on those cars on the regular? You'd just see a sea of these things, and it'd all be the same problem, one after the other,
Yeah.
after the other. Be like, oh,
So many, and it was like, and that was the funny, and not funny, but the problem was that just at that time, AMG became in-house with Merc, so it was part of Mercedes-Benz. There wasn't an aftermarket like what's the Holden Special Vehicles?
Oh, HSV.
Yeah, it wasn't a separate entity. Well, it was, and then it kind of bought in mid 1995 or so, and it's like, now you're all part of the same company. So if anything goes wrong, you got no one else to winch to. Just ring up our dealer team and go. There's just nothing you do. It's all, you couldn't have someone else to go to. It's all the dealer.
All right. So, with all of these problems that we've been discussing and stuff like that, what would you consider to be the worst car ever made, or your least favourite? It can be something you've owned. It can be something you've seen. It can be something
All
you've
my cars.
never ever owned. Well, there you go.
What did I have? I had a Renault 12.
Yeah.
And it blew ahead twice. My uncle fixed it, and I drove away, to go out somewhere to take a girl on a date back in the 80s. Died on the way there. Less than a day later. The TS12. Anyone that's seen the Renault TS12, it's like a 4-door box that someone carved out of Play-Doh with a butter knife.
I'll see if I can find a photo and flash it up.
But yeah, I mean, you could literally, because it was front-wheel drive as a Renault, you could literally sit in the engine bay to replace the head gasket because everything was just there. You're sitting there to do it all.
There's a lot of room, hey?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You just sit in the front, but it was just like, I mean, and the gearbox was kind of like over around here, and the suspension was like this. It was just, but they were everywhere.
Yeah.
You could go everywhere, and all over Italy. You could just jump in an old Renault like that, and off you go in the countryside, and you'd be boating around everywhere and buttering your croissant and with some brie or whatever else, and you'd be just floating around
France,
the countryside, and you'd get there. But they're
French
fucking
cars.
horrible cars.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, we talked about the redo of classic cars like the PT Cruiser and that. I mean, I'd make one to a skid car, but that's about it.
I think, ironically, you could have one where
I
you
would
would make
consider
it
fit with all-
absolutely awesome. But as a car, they are dreadful.
Yeah, a 2-litre, that generic, I'd call it like a Pinto motor because they were just generic.
There was a 2.4 as well.
Yeah, they had to because the 2-litre was crap. And the Neon had the same transplant, same powertrain, same floor, everything as the PT Cruiser, the Neon, and it was just like lackluster,
Yeah.
just crap.
When was the last time you saw a Chrysler Neon on the road?
Be a while.
Yeah, long time. Same with the PT Cruiser, actually.
I saw a convertible today.
Convertible
Yeah,
PT
he had the
Cruiser.
roof up. But yeah, I saw a convertible PT Cruiser today with the roof up, and I look at it and said the high hip line was just annoying me, and then I'm looking at his roof and I could see inside, tilted like that, the big ass bar that goes across for standard because they're so unsafe. And it's like, oh jeez, I'm glad I own a Beamer because, boy, that looks horrible.
Yeah, they're not
It's just
They're not great at
No.
all. Yeah, I can't do it. I look at them and I think, ugh. My mum actually back in the day, before she bought her RAV4, so this was 20 years ago or whatever it was considering one. I went, no.
Oh, okay.
And she said, oh, why not? And I said, because if you do it, I will take it and dispose of it. She goes, oh,
well, you're right, good,
be
Mum.
my car. And it's like, no. Just no. Just no. In actual fact, I dated a girl ages ago who had a PT Cruiser and spent $6,000 getting the engine rebuilt in it. And I said, but the car's worth maybe $5,000. She goes, yeah, and I wanted to keep it. I'm like, oh my god.
$6,000? You could just buy another car and just reef the motor out and swap it for like $1,000.
She obviously loved this car. Suffice it to say, the relationship didn't last very long. It wasn't just because of the car. It was other things as well. But yeah, the car didn't help.
Well,
I'm not that shallow. I am, but I'm not. Not really.
Yeah, well, if she has that much problem with the PT Cruiser, I'd be questioning everything else she would.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Anyway, so PT Cruiser is a very bad one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of others. I guess I just can't think of any at the moment.
A
I mean,
car
just
that
looking at my own car collection is like
a car that makes me uncomfortable when I see them.
AU Falcon.
No, I don't mind the AU.
It's polarizing. People hated them. But people that loved them bought them. Everyone else hated them. Now
Yeah.
every kid with a P license wants to buy one now to do as a skid car. It's like because the engines are just you can't kill the engines.
No.
And the car will rust out within 6 months. Take it off the ship, but the engines just keep going. It's like,
Yeah. That unfortunately was
too.
the there you go. No, that's that. The build quality in Fords was never as good as Holden's, I don't think. Okay, all you Ford owners out there, please do not gun for me.
Yeah.
But it's with personal experience and not even
I
experience.
mean,
with
have you
car
driven a
either.
VL and had the dash just press the button and it just pops out at you? VL owners will know.
Yeah.
Because they had this forward dash, a binnacle, and there's your light switches and everything else, and you press them and they go, pew! And they just, like an eyeball popping out your head, it just fall out and hang dangle. It's like,
Starion did that too.
yeah, like
Starion did that. In the Mitsubishi Starion, I'll see if I can find a photo, is that
Commodores have had their problems.
you've got 3 switches on either side of the speedo cluster, and in Australia, the middle switch on the left didn't do anything, but what you had was the headlight switches, and it was on the right hand side, it was off down the bottom, park lights, and then headlights. And what they would do is they would cancel each other out. So you push one and the other one pops back in, pops out, sorry. So push one and it's like clunk, clunk, and then clunk sort of
Mechanical,
thing.
like an old Valiant bloody gearbox.
Yeah, and then after sort of 30 years of every time you drive in the car, turning the headlights on, you turn them off one day and the headlight one goes ploop, and pops out. And because it's plastic with a spring, you cannot then turn your headlights back on. Or you can't turn them off,
Yeah.
which is even worse.
Yeah.
Because at least then you can drive your car during the day, but yes. So yeah, that was one of the things I think that a few automotive...
Yeah, I mean, they looked good when they were brand new, but yeah, give it a few years and our sun and everything just bakes and starts to warp. Yeah, so quality control, Holden had it down early on.
Yeah, I think
they
so.
didn't have it down. They didn't have it.
Well, I think consistently though they were okay. The biggest thing that I think with older Holdens, and I mean I've got a 93 Commodore out there, is that you sit inside it and it looks very old.
Yeah.
It looks very dated inside. Don't
Definitely.
flame me again, this is
Nice.
just a personal opinion. I don't hate them, I just think they look old. And
But he owns one.
I own one, see, so there you go. Anyway, so I think they look very dated. Whereas if you sit in a car from 1993 that's, say, from Japan, it doesn't look nearly as old.
No.
Or it looks...
And if you
perhaps
still
more
have a
interesting.
car that's 93 from Japan, you love it no matter what. People can say all sorts of things. You love that car. It doesn't matter what other people say. Unless it's a Camry. You should have sold it years ago and updated by now.
Camry?
Yeah.
Camry's
For
good,
93.
though.
Yeah, no.
You can't kill
No.
it.
No, you should have updated by now. If you own a Camry and it's still going 30 years later, fucking sell the thing and update, will you?
But, okay, so let me ask you this
You
question
need
then.
cars to crash. Alright.
Yeah, to turn into fridges or something like that, or washing machines.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Now, this question is unprompted completely, so I'll be interested to see what the actual response is here. Someone asks
Be
you
thinking careful.
that they're looking for a cheap, reliable car.
Actually,
So okay, no. So let me qualify this. can't be more than $3,000, and it needs to be reliable. Doesn't even have to be interesting. It just needs to be reliable. But what manufacturer makes Camrys?
Toyota.
And where's Toyota from?
Japan.
Yeah. So the answer is always, if you want cheap, reliable, it's always Japanese.
I've got a friend who lives, 250 k's out in the bush, and she's got a Holden Cruise, and she's already done the head once and the timing belts.
And what year is it?
I think it was 2010.
That's a lot of things to do on a 10-year-old car,
And
11-year-old car.
and of course, she lives in the middle of bib,
Yep.
nowhere, and she has to go to Northern to get it serviced because there's no service stations or Holden dealerships to service the car anymore. That's the closest she can go.
So how far away is Northern from where she is?
About 100 k's.
We.
Yeah, and that's the closest. And she went there to get everything serviced. She just replaced all the heater hoses and some radiator hoses, and the oil cooler. There's
Is it auto, is it?
yeah.
Okay.
There's an oil cooler, like a
Built into the radiator typically.
no, it's a separate to the engine, on the engine, I think, like a oil filter cooler.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of the transmission cooler.
Yeah, no.
Yes, okay, so it's
But
got
it's for the, I think it's for the transmission, but it's an oil filter cooler transmit. Yeah, cool. They had to replace that because it leaked. And then she took it in to get that, and then the passenger electric window shut itself. Get on your Holden.
They're
she's
Korean.
Are they?
It's the
Like Epicar and all that.
it's manufactured by what's left of Daewoo. That's why.
I mean, it's a nice platform, but mechanically,
So
it's sharp.
Chevrolet or GM bought what was left of Daewoo when Daewoo went under, and they remanufactured a lot of the old models and stuff like that. And as a consequence, all your things like your Trax, your Captiva. Sorry, I'll take no trump on that. Captivas are dreadful cars.
Yep.
The Trax, like I said, the Epica, the Cruise, all of those are Korean made, and I think so. Hyundai and Kia
But
make
General
reasonable
Motors,
cars
like
now.
General Motors do, they just opted out for the cheapest bits to keep the brand going and make some cash.
That I think
before
is the problem.
going
is
over
that
to their new
they've outsourced it,
substand. Yeah.
and they've
Yeah.
got like what I would call a substandard division of GM that makes these cars. And the primary difference
Anything else
between
outside of America?
yeah, but the primary difference there is that Hyundai and Kia make reasonable cars now.
Yeah.
Never used to, but they're sort of up. They're getting up there. Still not as good as Japanese, but they're good enough.
Yeah.
But these things, and everyone I know, or anyone I've talked to about Holden Cruisers, has expressed disappointment at how reliable they are.
Yeah. And
Or
she
unreliable.
bought it new because she's a writer, so she made some money on the book and thought, I'm going to buy a new car. Listen,
Some
10 years,
mistake, wasn't
it's
it?
costing her thousands of dollars. So she said, look, I can't do it. I said, look, I'll find you a cheap car, Japanese car to run around in, because she does 300k trips to Perth every month for either hospital appointments or see her mum. Then we'll get her car fixed. At the moment, it's just that window that needs to be done, and we'll just sell it. Whatever we get for it, I'll go to the auctions and we'll get you a nice car around the same vintage, 2010 or so.
Corolla.
Yeah, nice, because she's a short person. She doesn't need a Land Rover or something
Corolla
big.
hatch, 5-door Corolla hatch, or
Just-
even a Camry, dare I say it.
And that's what I'm looking at. Something that would do it. I'm looking at an old Camry or a Hyundai something, Sonata-ish, length-ish to do it.
I'd still think you're better off sticking Japanese.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then eventually,
Just not SUVs.
no,
Don't go SUVs.
not out, no, because she lives in the bush. So it's like, I mean, yeah, they got paved roads and stuff, but as soon as you go off the road, it's all what's the name? Roll gravel, pea gravel.
Oh, yeah.
Slide off in the bush.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. I mean, yeah, everyone else in town has Land Rovers, but it's like, yeah, well, they have properties. She doesn't have property. She's
Yeah.
a writer.
Just a regular car is fine.
That's what she needs. So I'm trying to find one. You think you can get one under $1,000 now?
No.
No.
No, you cannot. Not in this current climate. And the thing is that
Which is good because when we go to sell her Cruise, it'll be worth more than it should be. But
Maybe,
then
yeah.
that money has to buy her then a decent car, which is going to cost more than it should be.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think
Ridiculous.
these current times, cars cost more, and we had to replace my wife's car this year, and that car would have been $3,500 a couple of years ago. It was $5,000, and it was because, I mean, she opted for the wagon variant of a mid-2000s Mazda 6, which is rare in itself, because I saw 2 for sale when we were looking. All the rest of them are sedans and hatches, and you've got to look very carefully actually between the Mazda 6 sedan and hatch, because they look very, very, very similar.
Oh, okay.
There's the giveaway is the rear quarter window, but they look almost exactly the same.
No.
But the wagon is a very rare thing, and that's what she wanted. But
Because the
we-
dogs.
yeah, and we had to pay more for this car because we weren't likely to get another one or find another one sort of soon as she was ready to commit, and also the current climate where everything and everyone thinks that their $15,000 bunkie is now worth $35,000.
Yes.
I'm not gonna cite any specific examples. Nissan owners. Oops, I just did. Sorry. But yeah. But then, having said that, my insurance company with my MR2 has said, "Oh, it's not worth that everyone else is trying to sell their cars for." Because I know of a couple of MR2s like clones of my car in the East, where they're trying to sell them for like 30 grand. It's like 30 grand. That's a lot. But then I look at it and I think, well, I would have to, or someone would have to pay that to replace that car.
Yeah, because everything else has gone up.
But then they won't insure it for that.
Yeah.
So insurance companies, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, it's one of those things I think where in this current climate, December 2021 is where we are at, and this weird thing going on with well, there was, okay, let me give you another example. Toyota van. Hiace, the boxy ones.
Yes.
The cool ones. I love those things. I reckon they're
Well,
awesome.
they're all boxy.
No, but the
Show
new
me
ones
how
have got
hiace
more
it
of a
is.
nose. The brand new ones have got a
Oh.
nose on them.
Oh.
It's a bit strange. They're actually quite ugly compared to the previous ones. Previous ones had that sort of flattish, roundish sort of very, 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 very flat, but sort of slightly round front. They look awesome. I'll put a photo up. But the new ones have got a bit of a nose. And someone I know who manages a business, he bought the Hiace brand new 5 years ago, put like 130,000 Ks on it. Brand new, they were like 36 or 37 grand or something like that. He sold it for 30 grand.
Oh.
So that gives you an idea, because I mean, typically those cars would go for sort of 20 grand in normal circumstances, but being where we're at the moment, there's such a high demand for these things. The dealerships were literally clamoring over each other to try and get at this thing, to buy it, to put it in stock, and sell it for near new price.
Well, yesterday, day before midweek, I was just trying to find a cheap car for her. At the moment, I just want anything that's running that can do country runs, to get the ball rolling, to give her something so she doesn't have to drive this bloody cruise. And I was bidding on a AU Series 2, AU2.
A Falcon, okay.
It would look really nice. I mean, it had 174,000, I think, kilometres. So, yeah, but it was really nice looking. I stopped when it passed $1,000, which is a good price for him. But it's a freaking 20-year-old Falcon, over $1,000.
They'll go up though. That's the thing. It's because everything else around them has gone up.
Yeah.
So then they're looking at the last resort stuff, and I'm not saying AU
was
was the last
2000.
resort, but realistically, and
I just wanted a car
Everything
to
else.
give to her so she could actually do country runs and not get stuck out in the middle of somewhere. But it's ridiculous now, the price of the stuff. Just an AU Falcon, a Series 2 AU Falcon, a 2000 model, is over $1,000. I just went, no, I'm not paying over $1,000 for a Falcon.
look at the average price of things like Getz's.
There was one there, it went, it was,
Up and up and up.
it was a 2-door, and I was looking at it, but I thought 2-door, she doesn't want to, she needs a 4-door. And I stopped at $875.
But that's cheap for a
And it
Getz.
doubled.
Oh yeah, easily, without a doubt.
And I'm like, no.
I know someone who
And
frequently.
we're an $800 car at
No,
that stage.
that's
no,
gone.
now it's a $1,600 car. It's like, fuck off.
But then, at $800, is it really that good a car?
No. Oh, 800 well,
Even at
better than a
$1,600.
$1,600 car.
Well, I don't know.
Because that's what you're paying for the same.
But these things, they sometimes they're very cheap for a reason. And
Yeah. So why am I paying $600 for an $800 car and it's the same car?
But it's not an $800 car anymore, though.
No, it's a $1,600 car, and it's like, well, it ain't worth $1,600. As you said, can I try and insure it? $800.
Yeah.
Oh, but I paid $1,600. You're an idiot then.
But then,
COVID, we only got paid once.
I know.
Why are we still paying all this money for these cars that, one, we can't afford, and two, they're not worth it?
I know of someone who regularly sells Getzes for $3,000.
That's right.
Regularly.
And I don't know how much we'll get for her cruise once we put it in there.
Like that. They go like that.
And it's like, to replace her cruise, it's going to be like, well, if you have to spend like just shy of $6-7 to get the same car. When it ain't worth it. And it's like...
But yeah, welcome to 2021, I guess. It's just one of those things, man.
And
like,
it's a pain because she needs something that's reliable that can do country runs. I mean, it's okay if we're just doing the city there. Yeah, sure, we'll buy Getz, whatever. It's only 10 kilometres, 15, 20 kilometres from home. Not when you're 200 kilometres from home. And it breaks down. You're in the shit. So you need something reliable. And all those good, reliable cars. I mean, I've been, for the last 2 weeks, I suppose, because I'm a truck driver driving up and down through, I've been looking at these cars going past. I've been going, Camry Altis.
Corolla.
Yeah, and
Corolla or Camry.
The Sportivo and all these newer model, 2020, 2010 and up. Like it's like, oh, gee, they're quite roomy. They're quite nice. But the price would just be ridiculous.
I think if you want, okay, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, and for all of those Toyota Camry Sportivo drivers out there,
tonight.
Yeah, all of those Camry Sportivo drivers out there, I should.
You're probably not watching this, but yeah.
No, that's okay. If you want the ugly duckling of the Camry Sportivos, 2005, 2006 model.
I had seen a lot of Camrys where it's like,
they were the 3
why
litre
is that
V6.
sports car? It's like,
They were the 3 litre V6. So before they went to the 3.5.
Oh, 3 litre, yeah, okay.
Yep. So those engines are frequently bought by MR2 owners, oddly enough, and put in MR2s.
Oh, okay.
Because it's mid-engined, and because it's transverse, look at him go. Mate, look at him go.
Well, I'm a truck driver. I smoked for 30 years. This is all I can do to stop smoking, all right? Leave me alone. And it looks cool. All right.
Mid-2000s Camry.
Yeah.
Because they're not desirable.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to go to the auctions, which is the cheaper place to buy, and someone's buying them.
I think you've just got to keep your eye out, man. That's always the thing. Is just got to keep looking.
I mean, I'm even looking at a field like Volvos and that, because who doesn't love a fridge? Because
not a new one,
they're kind of no, but an older one because they're cheap. And the only reason
are they cheap though?
Still $1,500 for an old one, at least.
Really? Though you can.
I tried to bid on a V70 wagon. That's an all-wheel drive wagon with the V6.
Oh, the cross country or whatever it is.
Yeah, about that. And go on, popular. It's freaking V70 Volvo, all-wheel drive. No, popular because they don't come up that often.
Okay, so here's the problem with that, right? What you're looking at is a car that is the last of an era. That is a proper Volvo, because all the new Volvos are made by the Chinese. They're a Chinese-made company. So, I mean, they're probably made to the same sort of standard, but the Chinese now own Volvo, so there's the perception of a brand quality that perhaps is not there anymore.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be some corners cut for these.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's all money now, not reliability. It's about what they can make at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Bean counter stuff,
So yeah,
it's always been a thing. It's just more so now.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to find a car for reliability for like a country person to use to get into the city, or just driving around out in the bush that you don't want to break down the middle of nowhere. It's like I can't afford like a Camry or anything like that, so I have to either go an old Camry or look at something off-field like a Volvo or a Falcon, just to get the same thing done. It's like,
I think the golden rule with cheap, reliable car, look at how many dealerships there are. We talked about this before, I think. Not within this video, obviously.
And I haven't looked at the country to see, being Northam's anyone around, but I think they only have a Holden and a Toyota. That's it. Because everyone has Toyota Land Cruisers out in the bush, so where do you go? You go to Toyota dealership, and there's one in Northam, I think. Yeah,
there is. And so this is the thing, though. If you want a cheap, reliable car, this is some buying advice here for you.
Sure.
If you want a cheap, reliable car, look at how many dealerships there are that support that particular brand. So Toyota, there's going to be lots, which means that they're going to be reliable, you're going to be able to get parts, you're going to be able to find people who service them, and you're going to be able to keep it on the road. And it's not going to be egregiously expensive to keep on the road either. But Volvo, how many Volvo dealerships are there? Do you know?
I don't know, but there's your Avon Valley Toyota.
I'll bet there's nowhere near as many Volvo dealerships as there are Toyota dealerships.
Yeah. So Avon Valley, there you go.
Yep.
There's your. So
That's the one.
that's Northam.
Yep, that's the one.
So they have a dealership.
And it wouldn't matter how old
And
the
the whole-
Toyota was.
No.
You just take it there if you wanted to. I
Yeah.
mean, dealership prices can be a little bit expensive, but the thing is with Japanese is that any mechanic can work on it.
Yeah.
Whereas you take a Volvo there and they go, what's all this? And they're looking, you got like Torx bits, like screws and bolts and
Like
stuff
Mercedes,
like that.
I found out, yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
my
even things like
20-something-year-old Mercedes had
the
torque
Euro
screws.
4s, like all those Mondeos and Fiestas and Focuses and stuff, they all use Torx bits.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I was actually looking at the Mondeos and those Fords as well as a alternative, and I wasn't too sure. I wasn't sure about the Focus, and I went, I'd rather buy a Volvo, an old Volvo than one of those Fords.
I would say neither, and look at the just look at Japanese. Even if it's a Nissan Pulsar or something like that.
As
Nissan
long as it
Pulsar,
doesn't have
Toyota
CVT.
Corolla.
I mean,
Oh
someone.
no, CVT, yeah, exactly.
Don't anything CVT transmission. Do not get it. I mean, look at some of the Muranos, the Nissan Muranos and Nissan Maximas and that.
Nissan,
really
yeah.
nice cars until you get the CVT transmission that shits themselves constantly. They just, because it's the first time they've gone into that gearbox territory of CVT. And
The X-Trails and the Pathfinders, and they just all got the same problem.
If you've got a CVT, do not get it. The cars are really nice and good and reliable because the engines is like the VG, what are they up now? VH? I don't know. Whatever that engines are in everything.
VQ? VQ35?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. So it's
So-
the same engine as 350Z.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well-known engine, does
And-
quite well.
and
Blah blah
G35
blah.
Skyline and
Yep.
350 GT Skyline.
Great if you've got a
and-
manual transmission. Do not get one with the CVT.
No.
No. So I can't even go, oh, Nissan. Because they're reliable? No. Because most of the new ones have the CVT
Old ones,
transmission.
yes. New ones, not so much.
Yeah.
And Nissan are very, very heavily in bed with Mitsubishi. So what ends up happening there is there's more platform sharing going on. So what you end up buying is something that
Share
is...
a different gearbox.
Yeah, well, that'd be nice. But yeah, what you end up with is a car that is, again, a combination of a couple of things.
Yeah.
And not always a bad thing, but you've got to know who's built it, what's being used.
Because I was bidding on a
problems.
Maxima, and it was a really nice one. Had the VQ35, I think it was, and black, chrome, nice interior. Oh, these are really nice cars. It's fairly cheapish. I thought, oh, might have a look. Put a bid on it. And I went, Google. Car, nah. CVT, nah. Oh, I hope someone outbids me. They did. I never went there.
The early 2000 Maximas are good.
Okay.
The 3-litre.
All right.
It's a VQ30, I think it is.
Yeah.
And one of my ex's
And a
dads had
normal
one.
transmission.
He bought it. Yeah, he bought it new in 2000.
Is that the one where the guy had walked up to the gate and he presses the gate button and says, cheeseburger and fries, thanks?
It might be. I think I know
To
the ad
his
you're talking
rich
about.
girlfriend's,
I think so. Yeah,
His
I
girlfriend's
think so.
parents' house. It was the gates and the doors. And he
That's an
goes and
American
orders
ad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
And he rocks up with a Nissan Maxima and orders takeaway from their main
Yeah.
gatehouse.
Yeah, I
Well,
think-
that was a
I
funny
think-
thing, but
Is it a Maxima or a Sentra? I can't remember.
that was a
exactly, but
Maxima.
Was it Maxima?
It was
Okay.
played here, so it had to be Maxima because we didn't have anything else. So it was
okay.
actually played on our TV, and I just thought it was funny because the guy with the Maxima, is playing. The whole thing is, he was in a Maxima. He was in his early 30s, picking up his girlfriend. It's like, is this your second? Going to be your second or third wife? In his 30s, she's rich with a parent's estate, and he's going up to the doorbell at the front gates in a Maxima, pretending to have a laugh while ordering takeaway. It's like, you're in a Maxima, dude.
Yeah.
And a freaking Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's a Maxima. It's just like one of those ads. It's like, oh, seriously, a Maxima? But the car itself was great.
Yeah.
I just
But
wouldn't.
the early 2000s ones are good. Like I said, one of my exes, her dad bought one. I think it was new in 2001. Still got it.
Oh, okay.
Still drives it.
Probably why I don't see many up for sale then, because they're still being used by the same owners because they love them so much. I can't fault them. Still driving them,
But then-
never up for sale.
A lot of these people end up being, because they have them so long, they end up getting into their 70s, like they end up being like,
Crashing.
pensioners and stuff.
Crashing.
Well, not necessarily that, but they don't see a reason to change it.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, like
That's
cars.
it. If it works fine, why change it?
Yeah, cars are not like modern technology, like computers and phones and stuff like that. They don't have a limited life unless, of course, there's no longer support for them or something breaks.
Yeah.
Like classic example, this thing behind me here, 1978. I daily drove that for 3 weeks this year recently.
Yeah.
Daily drove it. It's just a
Didn't buy
car.
a radiator or hoses or
No.
anything?
I mean, I did the work to make sure that it was going to be reliable because I knew that it had to be reliable.
As you
Because
do.
interestingly enough, my VF Commodore, which is behind the camera here, decided that the torque converter was going to spring a leak.
Torque converter. It's a big steel cased round donut. Where does it leak?
There is a fault in the manufacturing apparently, and
Of course there
where
is.
the snout is
Of course there is.
through heat cycling and stuff like that.
It's a
the transmission
steel
weeps.
bell.
The transmission weeps, it cracks, and then it weeps. So my first indication of the problem was when I was driving it one day, and if you've ever driven an auto car with not enough auto transmission fluid, it sort of goes
Flares.
and then builds up.
Yes.
It did that, and I thought, hang on a minute, what the hell's going on here? Took it to the mechanic, torque converter out, couldn't get it replaced, had to have it repaired. Wasn't nearly as expensive as
The torque converter itself, not the gearbox.
No, not the
Sharp?
gearbox.
So it's just-
The gearbox was fine.
Oh,
It's just the
okay.
torque converter just decided, nah, I'm just going to crack down and let all the transmission fluid out. And the problem, of course, is with modern cars, a lot of people don't know this, is that when they make these cars, they match them electronically, engine to gearbox.
Oh, yes.
So you can't just go and get another gearbox and put it in because the car will not run. You have to actually have the
Car knows when
manufacturer.
you're playing with it because that's how they made them. So
Exactly
you can't
right.
stuff around. You have to take it to a dealership. You can't work on it anymore.
And get them recoded. Same with the engine and stuff like that. So that was the big thing, is that I was expecting a very large bill from it, but it wasn't.
Oh.
It was only about $1,600. Still a lot of money, but the thing is to remove and
More
replace
than
the torque converter. Yeah, exactly. But to remove and replace, but then the car's worth a lot more also. Like I wouldn't spend.
Well, it's
that-
running now.
Yeah, but I wouldn't spend that on this. It'd be engine out and just replace the whole thing. But then it
Yeah.
doesn't have the problem of electronics being matched to the car that the modern cars do. A lot of people don't know that, is that if you have a significant problem with an older car, a modern car, you can't just go and replace the gearbox at a Wreckers or something like that. You actually have to get something that is... Oh, it's close. You have to actually get something that is matched to the car, or you have to have the manufacturer do it for you. And... Good lord, this is
That's
a bit of
still
a
there,
farce. No. And if you do not, chances are it will never run again.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And that's the problem. Hyundai had that a lot with
This is why I
their
like
Santa
my old
Fe's.
cars.
The Santa Fe, the Hyundai Santa Fe from about 10 years ago, they had a lot of problems with overheating and gearbox issues, and people were working out that it was so expensive to fix these things that they were just getting rid of them.
Nissan X-Trails, early 2000s, gearboxes,
Good.
same thing, bad.
The manuals are fine. The gearboxes
Oh, yeah.
are not great. The
The
autos not
gearboxes
great.
just, and you just can't find, and there was no parts in Australia. All these
Which is
gearboxes.
very strange given how many of those things I used to see on the road. But you
Yeah.
don't see them anymore.
No, because they're all dead because the bloody gearboxes shit themselves and you never had parts for it. It's like, what? Because I've looked at a couple and they go, oh, engine runs fine, body's great, no dents or scratches, interior's beautiful, gearbox is shit. Oh, I'll just get another gearbox. Google. Oh, you
No,
can't.
You can't. Or
You
if
can't
you can,
find them because they can't rebuild them because there's no parts to rebuild them. They're all on order. I mean, these days maybe they could 3D print the parts because they're all plastic inside. But yeah, you could not get the parts to fix these gearboxes in these cars that were basically really good condition, except for the gearbox. You just couldn't use it, so they just sat. It's like,
In fact, just thinking about it, I don't even remember the last time I saw an X-Trail of that era on the road. I see them all the time.
Really
I even
big.
considered buying one because I actually had a reasonable towing capacity,
same. I
like
thought,
Pathfinders.
that's not bad, yeah.
But
Pathfinder, same gearbox.
yeah,
And
but
it's like,
oh dear, where have all these cars gone?
yeah,
And
they're all parked up or trashed because the gearboxes, you can't fix them. I was like, well, that was a bit of a mistake by the companies, weren't they?
yeah.
God, why would you have a really nice car that can do these things, go off-road, and you can't fix the gearboxes? Unless it's a manual.
Yeah. Well, I know someone who has a manual, one of those cars, and it's fine. It's perfectly fine. They've had it since new. Actually, they bought a new manual one, and it's great. It's a great car.
Yeah.
But the autos, yes.
I would be looking at, but this lady can't drive a manual. She has to have an auto. It limits me to what I can buy. So it's like,
That's the only problem, kids, is that the days of the really cheap car have nearly gone because so many of those cheap cars were manuals, and the manuals don't really exist anymore.
Nope.
So, yeah.
And it's just, and it's just, you know, I want to help out and buy a cheap runabout because eventually once we sell her cruise and buy her a decent car, I get that car back to then do whatever I want. I could sell it on or use it myself, and it's like, okay, so I'm not losing money. I just have to
You're loaning
it out to her for however long we get a lot of kilometres on. It's like, fine, I don't care. I've got 20 cars. I want them. But yeah, just trying to find one that I think that eventually, one, it'll last for her, and then two, that I can actually sell or do something with that's actually worth it and get my money back. It's like,
So what's the golden rule?
don't do things for other people.
No.
Oh, sorry, no. Do things for other people.
Yes.
Don't be an arsehole. Be, oh no, what is it?
The car. When you're buying this car, what are you looking for? What's
Reliability.
The well, yeah, but what's the golden rule? Where are you getting it from? What country?
Japan.
That's the golden rule. And I think that is where we will finish today's episode, this episode.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sounds good. All right,
And
thank you.
we've been rambling for, I don't even know how long actually, I'll find it out.
Should have a clock here till I...
Yeah, well, I was going to set a timer and then I didn't start it, so... Oh well. Never mind. It's organic and it's low budget, so what do you expect from a bunch of old blokes? So anyway. Yes. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.
Buy some merch. Not like this t-shirt.
I'll sell you this cup.
Daniel's son.
Go and follow
Dodgee's Garage.
Dodgee's Garage on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description. And is that your only YouTube channel?
Yeah, what do you think I'd do more? I
don't
can't
know.
do anything on that channel. Why would I want more things? And why would I want to create more channels to disappoint people with? No, one's bad enough. I don't want to do any more. I mean, I do TikToks. I do some TikToks now, and it's like
TikToks.
And
you
I
can
don't
tell he's old, can't you?
And I can't do the car stuff because I don't do anything. So it's just animals at my farm. At the thing, you know. Oh, there's some 28s and some galahs and stuff. That's it.
Right. So, see you next time.
Bye.